and that's how I learned English. Hello guys, I'm Dominica and today we're going to talk about English. In this video I'm going to share with you my thoughts and my experiences about learning English. I'm from Poland, so my native language is Polish. My second language though is English, and I learned it only 3 years ago. So today I'm gonna briefly tell you my experiences, and if you have any questions about language and ideas or tips, let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as possible. So firstly I will tell you my story, and then at the end I will share my best tips and tricks of how to learn English. So let's get started. I came to England to live in here for the first time 3 years ago. It was 2016, and because of that I was forced to learn language. I came to study at university, so straight after my high school I came to England to study at university. It was a pretty hard decision to make, although it was not my decision. My mom and my parents in general kind of pushed me to go abroad and study somewhere else than in my country. But because of that I learned a lot and I'm so happy about it. But when it comes to language, I came almost with no language in 2016. Now we have around 4 years later and I know pretty well language, which I'm very happy about. There are some things that I did differently than other people, and I noticed that many of my friends are still struggling, some of them, not all of them. But the main point of what they didn't and I did was isolate myself from Polish people. I realized that if I will spend and talk in Polish, there will be no chance of me learning English. You know, when you're learning something, you have to immerse yourself in one thing and focus on one thing instead of focusing on a few things, because otherwise you will not achieve as much as you could achieve at first place when you focus on something. This is the same with language. If I immerse myself in living in student accommodation full of people from different countries, not talking with Polish people, apart from my family, obviously I was talking with my family, but also I started reading a lot in English. I started listening YouTube a lot. I started immerse myself as much as I could. It was kind of hard because I was homesick at the beginning and I was missing talking in Polish. It seemed hard than it was, but it was scary. I remember when I came to England, obviously it's like moving to a different country. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a GP registration, I didn't have a bank account, I didn't even have my address yet. And the first thing I did was to create a bank account, because without a bank account I cannot really pay for rent or go to GP. So I went to the bank and I translated. I basically took my phone with me and I just put some words in, like in Polish, and I translated it and I just showed it to a lady who was at the counter behind in a bank, and I couldn't speak a word, I couldn't say anything. So I remember the day when I was so stressed. It's similarly, okay, some of the words are still difficult for me to say, but I'm getting better. The same situation happened when I went for the interview for the national insurance number to London, and it was ridiculous. I was scared, I didn't know how to use tube, underground, and yeah, I was lost, but I did it somehow. And if you are a Polish person, or if you want to learn language, you should go out there, force yourself, and try to cut your native language as much as you can. The one mistake I did at the beginning when I was looking for a job, it was a few months when I came to England, I got a job in Polish shop just because I was too scared to speak anywhere else and I couldn't communicate with people, so I was just petrified. So what I did, I applied to police shop and I got the job. I was there for 3 months and this was the worst idea, just because I felt how my English language was dropping. That's why I said immerse yourself in language, otherwise you will not achieve the satisfaction level that you want. During my first year of university, I was struggling. I was translating my assignments and I was asking my friends to check my assignments, and it was a real struggle. On my second year, however, it went quite well and I noticed improvement. On my third year, it was such a good improvement, and now I can see on my master level that during the 3 years when I was forced to meet deadlines, to write assignments, to read a lot, especially academic articles and books, then I realized that yes, it is possible to learn language. You have to make this as your priority and you have to set yourself deadlines as well. One of the lessons I can give you is do not be afraid to make mistakes. I'm still pretty much a perfectionist, and I feel like I was too scared to make mistakes, and that's why I didn't talk to people. I had many English friends, but during these few months I didn't want to say anything to them because I was like, oh, what if I would say something wrong, or what if they would not understand me and I would feel embarrassed. Do not feel embarrassed, don't be shy, just talk to them, because they know that you're from a different country and they will understand. At the beginning, I didn't understand it whatsoever, and I felt much more confident to speak with international or EU students who have different languages as their native, because I felt more confident because they make mistakes and I could make mistakes. In this video I'll probably make so many mistakes, but I will still do it because I still want to practice and I still want to develop myself and improve myself. That's why I'm doing it. But the point is, if you can speak, if you can talk, even though if you will make a mistake, do not worry about that. The best way to learn language is to speak. As I mentioned before, speak to people, even English people. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but speak. I remember my English classes when I was back in high school in Poland. Unfortunately, we didn't speak much. We didn't actually speak at all. I don't remember the day when we were just chatting with each other in English. It didn't happen. The only speaking thing was reading a text, which wasn't the best idea because the teacher was correcting us all the time and we couldn't really focus on what we were reading. Never mind. It's just ridiculous how English language is taught in Poland. But anyway, speaking. If you can speak, speak. There are plenty of groups of people from different countries who want to develop. Even my mum sometimes wants to speak with someone just to develop her English. It's hard to do it on your own. It's hard to do it through books, through YouTube, because there is no one really alive to ask you questions and you can chat with this person. Naturally, you will be much better at speaking when there is someone alive in front of you, and you will learn more, obviously. Also, it is important to set a routine and set a plan or a goal you want to achieve in the future. So let's say you're at school now and you want to learn English to get a better job later in the future. What steps you should take to achieve your goal? The 4 basic skills you have to have when it comes to learning language is reading, speaking, writing and listening. Those 4 things, you have to learn them at the same level. Because I know people, I was working in a coffee shop and I know that there was one person who could speak, you could understand the person, however he couldn't write, because he didn't learn how to write whatever he was thinking about. And this is difficult when it comes to learning. If you learn, you have to learn at the same level for listening, speaking and writing. Otherwise you will lack this, and it's going to be very hard for you to get into it later on in the future. When it comes to remembering words and sentences, it is much better to remember them not as a word separately, but as a sentence. If I would tell you, let's say you want to learn a word, a fridge. Don't learn fridge as a fridge. Learn it as, okay, so the fridge is in the kitchen and we put food into the fridge. Learn this kind of sentences to help you memorize it, because Even though you will know the word, you will not be able to create a sentence from it. Also, it is important to know who you are when it comes to learning. So there's many types of people. So let's say you're a listener or you're a visual person. If you're a listener, if your learning style is listening, you will not be able to see the word and remember it. You have to listen through your ears. So whenever you, on the lectures, it's usually one or two styles. Okay, so it's listening and visually. But let's say you're a kinesthetic person who has to move to remember. You cannot do it. When you're sitting in, you have to move to remember. So what I recommend you, find your way of learning and master it and practice it. After every step, remember to reward yourself. So let's say you've got a goal, you want to learn English at the end, you're here, you have to do a few steps to achieve your goal. But after every step, after learning 15 or 30 words, after remembering the grammar, after writing, after listening skills, then you can reward yourself. And this can be something small, but give your brain a bit of dopamine, a bit of happiness, a bit of saying, yes, I did well, now I can reward myself. And therefore, your brain will say, okay, I associate learning with rewards. I will do it again and I'm gonna be happy about it. And you will feel like you're learning very quickly. Of course, not everyone can learn on their own. People will need help. I needed help. Everyone needs help when it comes to learning. Because how can you learn if you don't know much and you've got only a book in front of you or YouTube channel and you have no one to ask? You have to have someone to ask. Whether it's a teacher, is it private tutor, it's your parent or someone you know that knows what do you want to learn, you have to ask for help, because that's important. If you're gonna learn something that it's wrong, you will repeat the mistake over and over again, and finally your brain will learn it properly, and it's gonna be such a difficult thing to unlearn what you've learned in the wrong way. Guidance is important. When it comes to reading, it depends on the level you want to be in. If you're thinking of the way just to communicate, you want a language just to speak in a shop or with friends, you don't have to learn very difficult language. But when it comes to academic language, if you want to travel abroad, if you want to study abroad, it's good to learn academic language. So there are two types of language. If you want to go easy way, read newspapers, read child books. Books for kids are the best because they don't have this very sophisticated language. They are easy, they're nice, grammar is very straightforward, so it's easy to understand. The same with newspapers. Newspapers are very common. This is the language that people are using in everyday life. They don't use difficult grammar again, they're just using normal everyday life. However, when it comes to academic language, newspapers are okay, and kids books are okay if you're starting, but it's good to move into journals, into books that you're interested in. So let's say you're going to study psychology, it's good if you're gonna try and borrow or find a book online that is about psychology. There's plenty of special, sophisticated, specialist words that it's used by different subjects and different courses, and there's plenty of words that you have to learn in psychology that they are different from normal speaking. If you want to know anything about psychology, I studied psychology, and if you have any other questions, comment me down below and I can answer them if you want. But yeah, articles, journal articles, especially the ones that are certified, that they are real journal articles. There's a website, I can link it down below. Also, there's plenty of journal articles on Google Scholar that you can use. They're very good, and you can read them through and you can highlight. I was highlighting them in my first and second year. The words I didn't know, I didn't translate them because then I will have a mix in my brain of the languages, and I was translating them into synonyms. Synonyms are words that they are similar but they are not the same to describe a thing. So let's say this can be a cup, but also it can be a mug. So this is a synonym. Or this is a phone, or this is cell phone, or this is mobile phone, or this is a equipment that you can call through. These are the synonyms that you can use to describe a thing. It is possible to translate a word in English to English by using synonyms, and these are amazing. And when it comes to translating the sentence, do not worry about every single word in the sentence. When you read the article, journal article, I couldn't understand literally every single word. I understood every second or every third word, and then when the sentence made sense because of understanding of few words, and your brain is automatically giving a meaning to what you read. So you don't have to know every single word every time. It's good to highlight the words you don't know at the beginning, but after practice, and you will see that the words will repeat all the time, even in psychology. It's good to know the words, but try not to force yourself too much to translate every single word, because that's not a point, and you don't need that. When it comes to grammar, I am still struggling. Sometimes I'm guessing what grammar I should use, the past tense, and the past tense is the worst for me. However, the most natural way to learn grammar is by speaking and natural conversations, and this is coming naturally actually. I always hated grammar. I don't know why, it's just happened for me to hate grammar. But maybe it's because in school I had so many assignments that I just couldn't pass, and I was never good at grammar. I was just guessing what I should use. Even now I do guess sometimes. But when it comes to grammar, it's good to learn what tense you should use in different situations. You have to have the overview of this. But when it comes to speaking like this, after 3 years, I just learned different sentences that you just repeat all the time, and you don't have to think about them anymore. And it's the same with accent. After some time, after repeating the same words and listening to people, you just get the accent. The same with grammar, the same with words, the same with vocabulary. You will just absorb it if you will immerse yourself. That's very important. These are the tips that helped me to learn a language basically in 3 months, to be honest. If you have any other questions, ask. I'm here to help if you need help with English or psychology or study in England. Ask me anything. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Bye!